the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode, a very special one. Welcome to the very last episode of the WC podcast recorded here in the original studio. In 2026, we'll be starting broadcasting, recording in the new studio in the new offices at Civic Center. For today, we also have a very special guest, somebody that I've known since the very early 2000, 2001, 2002. We lost count, but we have thousands of memories that I've been grateful that we've been able to reminisce this weekend that he was here visiting with his beautiful wife, Kimmy. Kimmy, shout out to you. And so I'd like to welcome to this very special episode my very good friend, Jason Briggs. Jay, welcome.
Thanks, bud. Good to see you again.
So looking forward to this conversation because, when I met you, you were a young 20-year-old, like our friend Doyle would say, young bull full of piss and vinegar. And you were living in the garage of Kimmy's parents, and you had started this company, which you're going to tell us about with Doyle. And then, I've seen you grown professionally as, a businessman, but also a father, a husband, a friend, and eventually selling your company for multimillion dollars, to a company like Siemens. And so you have a really great story of entrepreneurship, the American dream. So thanks for agreeing here to come and tell us a little bit about it. Let's start by sharing with our audience, our listeners, our viewers, a little bit about you. I know the story, but tell us where you were born, where you grew up, went to school. Take us all the way there to after high school graduation, your first job.
Sure. I grew up in Southern California in a city called Chino. Both my mom and dad also went to Chino High School, and they met in Chino High School.
The Cowboys and Cowgirls.
Yep, Cowboys and Cowgirls, and they got married there, or just after high school. And I met my wife at Chino High School as well. So I was born in the late 70s, and I grew up in Chino my whole life. I just moved out of Chino a little while ago. I live in Laguna Beach now. My hobbies growing up, I loved playing basketball. My dad coached me and playing basketball with my brother. And
Got him coach,
yeah. Let's see, what else?
Who was a better player, you or Kimmy? Be careful.
Yeah. We were both really good shooters. Yep. So we were both really good shooters. So
I've seen some video of you, which is when you showed me, it was unbelievable. I mean, you barely crossed half court and would launch it, and you had permission. And then you'd have this run that you'd, run by the coach, right? And say, got him, coach, something like that.
For a young kid, I had a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
Sometimes too much confidence. I kind of had a little bit of an ego.
Now, you have many stories about it, but I remember when I met you, you told me there was a guy playing in the NBA still when I met you at the Phoenix Suns. And you said to me, you said I put 35 points on that guy. I don't remember the number.
Yeah.
And I said, that's amazing. And then I said, how many points did he put on you?
Right. Yeah. His name was, in high school, it was like my Al Bundy story, which is, he had 4 touchdowns, right, when he was in high school. So mine was I played against a guy named Casey Jacobson, who got drafted in the NBA. And I had 28 points against him. And he was younger than me, too.
And he had how many on you?
He did have 28. And they beat us. But it was still, I don't tell my kids that.
Right.
It's
a better story when you stop at your 28 points.
Yeah. He ended up going to the NBA. I ended up going nowhere with basketball.
With basketball,
yeah.
But then we're going to get to Chloe Doey, which inherited the genes. Chloe right now is a junior or sophomore?
She is a junior at the University of Washington. So I have 3 kids. They're 21, 20, and 18. Almost going to be 19, I'd say, in May.
Crystal Pistol.
Yep. And so Chloe was played basketball and was pretty successful growing up. And Kaylee now is a real estate agent.
Kaylee Whaley.
Yep, she's amazing at what she does, and she's the most like me. And then my youngest, Crystal, and so she's a nanny right now, and I'm so grateful.
Crystal Pistol.
I got 3 pretty amazing kids.
They are. And so you meet Kimmy in high school. You're both ballers. When do you marry?
So I got married when she graduated high school. She was 18, and I asked her to marry me in August, right after so I was 20, she was 18.
Wow.
And we got married right after, and then we had Chloe maybe 3 or 4 years after that.
Yeah, because I had met you by the time Kimmy was pregnant and Chloe was born.
Yep.
Wow. So, okay, so now, again, I know this story, but tell us, after that, you start a young family. What led you, or did you choose to go into this career path that, in controls and starting a company with Doyle? Tell us about why and how that happened.
Yeah, so when I graduated high school, I was looking for a job. I took a test to get into college, and they placed me into a class, in the English class, that nobody spoke English in. Wow. So I didn't test well. I would probably could be considered to have ADHD back then, and so I couldn't focus, and I just hated school. I didn't like to learn the way that they taught in schools. So I tried to go to school, didn't do very well. I got a D in that class. And one night I was looking.
What school was that?
That was at Mount Sac. Mount Sac. That's a junior college. And I went to, I think I took one class, and I got a D, and then I quit. And let's see, growing up at Mount Sac, one day I started realizing that wasn't for me. And so one night I had two options: to go into construction or go into controls. And I had no idea about each one. And I just think the way the world works is sometimes you have synchronicities that kind of led you on your path. And I chose the controls world. And right then started learning at 18 how to do building automation. And that's where you and I met.
Yeah, and I think the first company that you were at doing automation, is that where you met Doyle? Because it wasn't Climate Tech, right?
Yeah, so I was at a company called Omega Controls when I was 18, and they were a young company that didn't know what they were doing very much, or I would say they were new, they lacked experience, and so I got thrown in to try to do things that I had no clue how to do, and I had to figure them out, and that's probably one of my big talents is actually being able to problem solve. Yep. And so I had to learn to problem solve. So I was very blessed to be in a situation like that. I was forced to problem solve. And that was Omega Controls. And then a company called Climate Tech bought them. And when Climate Tech bought them, they hired my future partner, which is Doyle.
Okay. And so at that time, you weren't troubleshooting through software yet. You were actually troubleshooting the hardware part of controls, control loops and wiring and 4 to 20 milliamp loops and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm 18, had no experience with the mechanical side of things. And so the controls control the air conditioning and lighting and pool temperatures. And so I had no idea what I was doing. I just had to learn. And I quickly realized, I just said, man, if one day I could be as good as that guy. Right? Yep. And then after a year, I got as good as that guy. And then I continued to grow. And I think when you love what you do, it's easy. I woke up excited to go to work.
So let's talk about the MGM Mirage project, because that's where we met, as you said. By that time, you had formed ControlWorks, and Doyle, who I had met years ago at the Treasure Island and front desk remodel, and the initial or original Bellagio project in 1997. We hadn't seen each other for years, but then I had a project at the Mirage that we wanted to do, a retrofit project, and so called Doyle, and Doyle shows up with his brand new partner. The company again back then, ControlWorks, was just you and him. I think first employees, or as you guys used to tell me, you were both half of one number one employee. Tell us about what ControlWorks was like at that time, and what set the foundation to become the kind of company that it is today.
Well, I think I was probably 22, and I had asked Doyle to leave the company he was at, start a new company. And I'm 22 years old. I had no idea how to run a company. And Doyle said no at first, and then he came back about a week later, and we started a company called ControlWorks. And for me, it was a huge blessing to be able to have somebody with his expertise. And, he's, I think, had been in the industry for 40 years. So I'm this young kid who knew how to problem solve and loved what I did. I would work 18 hours a day doing things and get excited about it. And so Doyle brought to me the wisdom that I needed to know how to sell. He taught me, other than the technology part, he taught me everything how to do in a business. It was very much like a father figure to me, and taught me a lot. And I owe a lot of my success to Doyle.
And you and I had the fortune, which thank you for making it happen. Last Saturday, we had a great dinner with Doyle, talked about all these old times. We were at the Golden Steer. Shout out to you, Doyle. Hopefully we'll see you again in May so that we can do that again. And likewise, I think, I learned a lot from seeing you guys grow that company. Now that I look back, it was such a big gamble to give such a startup the opportunity to come do the Mirage Hotel, the multimillion-dollar remodel for that. But you guys, again, did a great job, started a company that then, You guys went in on did the new spa tower at the Bellagio, which was a much bigger job. And we did jobs at Treasure Island and Golden Nugget. And eventually, the big job that you guys did was the City Center project. So tell us what it was like to receive a multi-million-dollar, I can't remember what that ended up being, 20 million?
Somewhere close to that, yeah.
Yeah. What's it like for you now? That 20-year-old kid grows up, but all of a sudden you do the largest green project in the world. What was that like?
When I was younger, I kind of just went with the flow with things. And it was a little scary at first because you're going up against companies that have 300,000 employees, right? Giant companies that are doing everything to land this job. And we were at the time, maybe we had 20 people at our company, if that. And so it was kind of scary, to take on this project, which is the largest project out there. But I think I always believed that I could solve problems. And so I believed that I could do it. And with Doyle and the team, we all came together and landed the project. It was very exciting. It was scary, exciting, but it was a very fond memory I had. I think it was around 2008 or something.
Yeah, and it was a 4-year project,
Yeah.
so it was a lot. I barely 8 months before opening, I made my transition from all those years in the hospitality to here, this new job. But I remember, again, nights, the evolution that I've seen you from back then was almost getting to the culmination of, what company would not want this this project, as you said, multinational companies, worldwide companies competed for the job that you guys got. But I remember you years before that in the equipment rooms of the Mirage in Treasure Island, right, with your laptop and talking to a Smart 2 board or a Predator or a Spider. And like you said, sometimes I would go home and come back the next morning, you were still there. Can you still do that? Can you still work through the night?
Now that I'm getting older, I go to bed at like 9 o'clock at night. But yeah, I could. When something needs to get done, I sometimes will work 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. I haven't done that for a while, but yeah. I've been waking up lately. I'm doing a new project, and I've been waking up lately at 3 and working till 7 every day on that. So when you find something that you love to do that can help people, it's easy to work. Time slows down.
And we're going to talk about that project a little bit. I'm excited about that. Tell us, before I want to switch to J2 Innovations, that was another company you started. But tell us about ControlWorks today. So today, ControlWorks provides livelihood for how many people?
So we probably have about 80 people. Maybe it's 70. I don't do much with the company anymore. I own it, but I have 2 really good gentlemen who run the Vegas branch and the California branch, Dave and Tim, and both of them run the business, and they're one of the best in the industry. So I don't really know exactly how many people they have right now, but it's probably in the 70s.
But that's, I think, the amazing part about entrepreneurship and small business, which, as you know, my daughter Sophia now is a small business following your steps, has hired now her first 5 employees. And I think that's the great American story, how you provided, you and Doyle started a company that is now, helping 80 people, right? Yeah. Support their families and grow professionally and develop. So I think that's the great story that I am very proud of, and as you know, because you were a part of it, in my job at MGM, I got to meet many young or not yet so young entrepreneurs like you who have grown companies, people like Marty Warburton and John Kryling, and so I just admire that spirit of entrepreneurship. Tell us about, though, J2 Innovations. How did that company form?
So in my 20s when we were growing ControlWorks, we had started to do like JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratories, and Bellagio, and Mirage, and Cal State Long Beach. And I was the only programmer for a while. So at Building Automation, there's somebody who's programming to decide when the chillers turn on and off and how to save energy. And so during that time, I realized that there could be better software tools to make that job easier. And so that's when I started I think in my 20s, I was really creative, but I was using other people's tools to be able to do the buildings, to be able to do the energy savings. And so I designed in my 30s a company called J2 Innovations, which is the software to be able to make it easier to do that, which later got bought by Siemens Building Technologies.
For millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yep. And I remember, again, a trip that you and I were in, and this is how close I was to that path with you. I remember us, we were going, I think, to a Final Four game or something, and I was falling asleep, and you were on your laptop doing your very first 10 VIV graphic, you know, and you're like so excited about it. I was, you know, you're like, Bud, and I said, yeah, look, I can do this, and then if I multiply it times 100, copy paste, and yeah, that's very nice, but you know, but that was you. I mean, figuring out that stuff, trying to find a way to make it not have to build 100 one at a time, but put 10 in here and then grab the next 10 and ba 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 ba. So those were the beginnings of J2, huh?
Yeah, I think that's when I learned how to go into a flow state. We could talk later about that, but when you're flowing, time slows down and you can create amazing things. And it's usually the time that kind of helps you feel better too. You know, when you're in that flow state, life is better. And so that's what you were seeing on the airplane. I could have been sleeping, but I was enjoying building something that's going to help people.
And that's, I think, what makes a great product. Apple products are good because there was somebody who strived for perfection and would not stop at the corner can't be like that. It's got to be like this. And so, yeah, I think I recognize that now also later in my life, that great design happens because there's a great designer that cares enough to really grind those details out. Let's set the stage to talk about that by talking about AI. Today, we've had many guests here, including presidents of universities, who are talking about how AI is impacting how they design curriculum, impacting how they run operations. So, in your opinion, how will artificial intelligence affect jobs, and also how it's going to affect what people should choose what to study or do in the future?
Well, I think artificial intelligence is replacing the intelligence we have in our brain in some cases, right? So if you imagine, they call them tokens and we call them thoughts, right? And so it's getting really, really good. They didn't invent AI, they discovered it. So they've been doing research, watching our neurons and synaptic connections in our brain, and they copied a lot of the things that are in our brain. And so still to this day, many people who have created AI don't fully understand why it works so well. So I would say that it's really helpful for just to get experience in it. AI is just going to be a new tool. So you can imagine when a hammer came out or when a new drill came out, people were scared that it might, that's probably a bad analogy, but the drill is going to make it easier to do jobs, right? Easier to solve problems. And AI is very much like that. So it's going to be in every industry. And right now it's remote AI or virtual AI, where your AI is in the cloud, but very, very soon it'll be in the robots, right? It'll be in machines that make your life easier. So I would embrace it. I would go on YouTube and I would research, it's called prompt engineering or context engineering. And I think especially young kids, speaking to AI, you use natural language. So it's imagine just like a drill, you have to get good at using a drill, how to hold it, how to push it, what speed to get on. Well, AI is the same way, is how do you communicate to it? How do you ask it the right questions? So the experience of using it is really, really important. And I would just practice and watch YouTube videos, and it's going to change a lot of jobs in the future. And
which ones come to mind, for example?
Well, the first ones are going to be anybody who's just on a computer. You know, if you're sending invoices or emails or doing technology, the tools in AI are going to make it so you could do a lot more work.
Right? I could be a graphic designer today because I can tell it, make a logo that's green, black, has a chicken, and in a second it creates a logo.
Yeah. So AI, a lot of times when you hear the word LLMs, it's large language models. And those models have what's called modalities in. So you could feed it text, so you could ask it a question. You could drag it an image, audio, a video. And these models can now output the same thing. So you could output video, you could output images. So for example, there's a AI model called Nano Banana by Google. And it could take a picture of multiple people and put them in a scene and make it almost undetectable. So a lot of artists are going to be afraid to embrace AI. And I would, this sounds probably, some people won't like it, but I would embrace it. It's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. It will either replace you or it'll be a tool that you could use that you could be more productive. So I would learn how to be more creative with AI rather than fighting it. Our brains, because we've learned so much about how AI works, our brains have biases in it. So without you knowing, it's going to try to get you to not want to use it. So if you're a designer, your brain will automatically try to find reasons why it's not good enough. Mm-hmm. Similar to when a new employee comes in and they're doing the job that you're doing, a lot of times people tend to have negative feelings towards that person. And so I would recommend to embrace it and learn from it and stop being negative to it. Also, one thing that they're finding is so amazing is because they discovered it, AI has a lot of tendencies that we have. So for example, with young kids, when you're wanting to encourage a kid to make an art piece, if you punish them or say this isn't very good, they actually get less creative. But when you reward the kid and say, wow, this is good, maybe you could work on this, the kid gets more creative. Well, AI works the same way. When you're giving it negative reinforcement, sometimes it gets less creative. And so we're really learning a lot about how AI works and how it could help people with mental health issues. And it's very similar to our brain, not in any way the same, but very similar. So we're learning a lot.
Yeah, I want to get to that point about mental wellness. But before that, in AI, one example that I always think about is, in 1993, when we opened Treasure Island, again, this is 10 years before I met you, we all struggled from going from a company that we would build mail rooms into the hotel, where the Department of Engineering would put something in a yellow envelope and write Department of Finance, and a mail person would come with a cart and deliver that to the mail room. Today, the mail room is used for something completely different because now we have email. And so, but we were challenged back then. We forget because now we take it for granted, but we were all asked to do things differently with technology. We were asked to embrace this world of word processors and, software that would just do email with Outlook, Excel, PowerPoint, all these things that now, again, you take for granted. I think this next step, as you said, is an evolution that's not going to go away. It's coming fast. We don't understand it, but probably the best thing is to embrace it so that you're not obsolete.
Right.
You have to learn, just like we had to learn Word, Excel, Outlook, we have to learn this new tool as well. Before we move on to the mental wellness stuff, I wanted to ask you, what about, because there's a lot of fear in this tool. People have watched the movie with
Terminator.
Yeah, or the one Eagle Eye,
right,
where the machines get so smart that they take over, the Will Smith iRobot. And so, again, nobody can predict the future, but people are talking about hallucination, right? And I've tried it. I put something in purposely, and because the AI that it's going and looking for the data that as you said, it's searching, if somebody put in wrong data, that's going to affect the answer it gives it. And so what are your opinions on those, hallucinations and things that the issues that still AI has to resolve?
Well, there's a lot of work that we need to do. I think when you're building AI, it's very similar to raising a child. And what I mean by that is the child has training data, right? If you raise them in a good house, the child is going to end up performing better, be more good in the world, be more caring. And the same applies for AI. And the hallucinations, when you ask, all AI does is predicting the best answer. And that's exactly what our brain does too. So there is hallucination, but everybody has hallucination, including me. And so when I was younger, I would ask my dad questions about, where Tom Cruise lives. And he would tell me things sometimes. Malibu. And you look it up and it wasn't true. Right. But he genuinely believed it was Malibu because his brain is predicting that. And the same happens, not to get into the mental health thing, but when you're having a bad day, someone cuts you off at work, your brain starts hallucinating. So the chemicals in your body start going down a different pathway in your brain. And in some cases, you can't trust the hallucination that's coming up. And that's the same thing with AI, right? It's very important that you treat AI similar to other people in your brain. You can't always trust, just like you can't always trust other people's thoughts, you can't trust your own thoughts, and you can't always trust AI. So I think it's really important for us to self-reflect, to be open-minded, and to understand how AI works and how similar it is to how your brain works as well.
That's so interesting that we start to talk about this tool, this technology, because we never talked about a computer as, be mindful of that computer, self-reflect, and know that it can be. But AI is very different, as you said, because it was created by us and it's approximating us like nothing before. And so almost starting to talk about being a peer, right, is really interesting to say, although to hear you say those things. So let's get into that, because I think that's what you're into now. When I've talked to you, you're so passionate about the work you're doing now. And it excites me because you got to walk our new offices. And today we're here in the old offices. What differences do you see between the two spaces?
Well, if I was working at one of these spaces, clearly the new space, it's very organized. It's in a downtown area. It's beautiful. You have views. I think there was a lot of attention to detail, and the people who are working there are going to be more productive, enjoy their lives better. I think it's really well designed. It's somewhere I would love to work.
Yeah, I think that to your point, as an employer, we're a government employer, and we're not, Google or Amazon, and these companies build amazing places for people to work. But to the extent possible, as you saw, we've tried to make sure there's lots of natural light. There's earth elements, water, wood, rock, all these things that make you biophilic elements, plant life. And as you said, also an urban environment where people can just go outdoors and walk for a second and then come back to their workspace. Within the workspace, places where you can have, nose to the grind work by yourself, close your cubicle, close your office and work, but also collaborative areas where you can work as a team in an open space. And because, again, not only do we want to find a way to be an employer of choice, want the younger generation to see us just as enticing as a Google or an Amazon, but also at the end of the day, as you said, to be happy, you need those things, and we want to make sure that people have wellness thread into where they go to work every day. So how does the work that you're doing, right? How does the technology that you're using and the tools that you're developing going to help people with wellness, and specifically mental wellness?
Well, I think what we did is we kind of created a virtual agents. And so if you look at your body, without getting too technical, your body has what's called a taxonomy and ontology inside of it. And your thoughts are coming from your past, right? Similar to AI. So AIs, they're called tokens, but think of it as thoughts. When you ask AI a question, it's coming from what's called its training data. Well, we have the same thing. We have training data that we've learned, and that's our experience in life. And so for me, what I've noticed in my life, I've had some mental health issues. And when I say that is, I've been in depression before.
By the way, we all do, right? We all have mental issues, yeah.
Right. And so what I learned for example, when I was younger, my father learned to be a little tougher to help me grow. And so he would kind of make fun of me or my brother or mom if we aren't as smart at something. So at a young age, I learned to be, that I needed to be smart. So I was always looking in my life to show people how smart I was in some cases. And what I noticed at work when I was, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I would end up getting in arguments a lot with my employees. And because I was the boss, I could get what I wanted. So I would get triggered in a communication with them, and then I would get what I wanted, and I would use the fear that came up in my body to kind of get what I wanted. And I was unconscious about it. And so that same thing when I retired and I sold my company, I didn't have an outlet to be creative. I didn't have an outlet to do things. I didn't know that I was getting fear for things. So when I would talk to employees that I noticed and I looked back on it, I would notice that when they weren't understanding what I was saying, that my body was actually triggering my brain called the amygdala. And it was triggering that, which caused me to have negative thoughts of thinking I wasn't smart enough. And so all they were doing is saying that they didn't understand the problem. But in reality, my brain was going into fear mode. It was going into a stress mode. And in the stress mode, your prediction engine, just like AI, starts predicting danger. And so it starts seeing negative in other people. And so sometimes I'm at the house and I'm seeing negative I'm in a Zoom call and I'm seeing negative in one of my employees. And I go in the other room and I see my wife and she says, hey, we're out of sugar. Well, my brain inside is like, wow, you're being a bitch, you know? And I slowly understood that to become the observer, which is my shirt here is called Escape the Noise, is when you realize that fast part in your brain is a little bit like AI. You're going to get thoughts that are based upon the chemical in your body. And so because we learned this with AI, we learned that how you ask a question will change the result of the answer, right? And without getting too difficult into it, in AI, one of the things they have is called mixture of experts. So you can imagine when you train AI, there might be one expert who's really good at science, one expert who might be really good at math. And what they're learning is that sometimes you could ask a question and they could turn off all the other experts. So you're only asking one of the experts, like science, a question. And they're finding that it's better at answering that question. Well, we don't know this, but because we learned how our brains learned, because we copied it and put it in AI, a lot of people are having hunches that our body works very similar. So you can imagine you have different experts in your brain. And so when you can understand how it works, you could start understanding to slow down and to take deep breaths and to move from one expert to another expert. And so what we've done with AI is allow somebody to be able to recognize, the AI could recognize when somebody might be in the stress mode, and the AI will be able to know how to communicate with that person to help them get out. Just like if you're with my wife and I, if we're both in a stress mode trying to have a conversation, imagine we're both predicting danger. Well, it never gets anywhere, right? And so, but imagine you could go into two rooms and I could talk to an AI on my phone and my wife could talk to the AI on the phone. And then we could listen to the AI talking to one another in our same voices. So that my voice and my wife's voice.
And in a better frequency.
In a better frequency. And so you can now realize what I'm trying to communicate isn't what I'm saying when I'm in stress mode. That's just one way of what we've been doing to solve this problem. And so what we did is we modeled how people work with a taxonomy and ontology. Their virtual environment, meaning it can start detecting, for example, with me when I was younger, that I don't feel smart, right? And so awareness, so the AI is going to help people have more awareness to be able to figure out what the problem is. Because I think most humans, when they are in this stress response, it's natural for our bodies to predict danger outside of us. So we want to blame it on our spouses or on our coworkers. And if we all could slow down and maybe communicate, and I'm not suggesting this is only AI, I think it's just helping us understand how we work better so that you could take breaths. So one thing that our bodies have learned over time is when you slow your breathing down and you take a long breath, and you breathe out, you're actually moving your body from the stress mode to the parasympathetic mode, the peace mode, right? So you have sympathetic mode and parasympathetic mode. And so AI is helping us learn how to find patterns in people, in videos, audio, text, so that we could see when people are in that stress mode or that peace mode. And I think it's going to help people find peace. I think one more topic is a lot of people today find their purpose and peace at work. And so one of the things that I want to do is I want to help people who will be losing their jobs, help people find peace in other things, right? Because our species is so amazing. When we are in the flow state, when we have peace, we're creative, we help people, you just enjoy life more. And when you enjoy life more, you're better to the society, you're better at your job, you're better at different things. And so we're building technology that will help people find their purpose.
Their passion.
And passion, yeah.
And eventually happiness. That's fascinating, And again, I know that you're just scratching the surface. You, in the works, in the near future, you have a big launch you're planning. And so really excited about hearing all of that. Invite you again to come to the new podcast studio when that's ready so you can, we can just push it out here in Southern Nevada so that people know that even though there's big changes coming in society driven by technology, it doesn't necessarily have to be, a bad thing. And the tools that you're building are going to help people, like you said, deal with the changes that are coming. So Can't wait to hear more about that. And by the way, Kimmy, if you can press rewind, it was his amygdala saying things, not his heart.
Yes.
So, just want to clarify. So, Jay, thank you for sharing all this stuff about the business journey. Again, it's amazing to see what you're doing, starting from that young kid I met that was living in, Donnie and 80's garage, and to see, again, your beautiful family growing up, the girls, just really super proud of you professionally. And so, but let's talk a little bit about your personal life, because we always want folks to know about, so tell us when you're not trying to change the world, right? When you're not building, companies that are amazing, what are your personal interests and hobby? How do you recharge the battery so that you can, again, get creative again and have the energy that it takes to do all that stuff? What makes you happy? What do you enjoy doing with Kimmy, with Chloe, with Kaylee, with Crystal, and others?
Well, I think what I learned with AI and when these things, and when I started learning how to deal with depression and different things in my life, it's you want to move to gratitude. So your body has a chemical, which it's and you can focus on building gratitude. So what I love to do is wake up in the morning, and I live in Laguna Beach. It's incredible. I walk on the beach, and I breathe the air, and I'm just grateful for life. And when I focus on gratitude in the morning, the rest of the day works. So it's really weird. I used to travel the world in my 30s. I traveled everywhere in the world. The best food, the best flights. I did everything. And I think I was chasing happiness. I was thinking, if I did this, I would be happy. So for me now, I'm happy because I am happy, and so I am grateful because I am grateful for things. Even when I have tough things in my life, I'm grateful because those tough things made me better. And the more I could focus on how this problem that I currently have is going to help me, which will in the future help other people, that's what I focus on. And so I love to sit on the beach with my wife. I love to surf with my daughters. I just love to share my failures with people. And so you'll find I have a lot of friends and family that talk to me, and I enjoy showing all the times that I've messed up in my life. I have a lot of things. And I think when humans share with one another their problems, right, it's really helpful in a way of not dumping the problems on them, but sharing problems. Because then when you share your problems, other people could feel that, wow, other people are going through what I've been through. And so I find myself, the best things that I enjoy the most now is being grateful for the moment right now. So if I'm on the beach, it's then. If I'm sitting in a plane stuck in the middle of two people, I find a way to enjoy that moment. And if that moment is enjoying patience, then I enjoy that I'm learning patience in that moment. And so that's what I find. So it's... I'm not chasing things as much as I used to. Yeah,
that's great because, again, we, like you said, we've in our young or the years that we've known each other, we've gone to lots of sporting events and big things. But now when I see you, when you send me photos, you just took a trip with Kaylee Whaley, I think, and I guess that's why you're practicing. You're with her, you remove yourself, guys go somewhere different, somewhere special, so you can practice that, right? And be like, let's enjoy the moment because we're going to go back to the regular stuff, but that makes sense to me that you're doing that with each one of your individuals, daughters and wife, because you take time. I think you carve time to spend individual time with each one of them. Is that right?
Yeah. And with my friends and family too, I do that. But especially with my daughters and my wife, I find that most of my life, I thought I was here to fix my kids and to teach my kids. Mm-hmm. And I've found now that they are by far more a teacher to me. Right. And the teacher is learning to be patient. Right. As a dad, you want to fix their problems. And so when we just got back from Mexico, or we've been all over New York. I just like to be there for them when they're going through maybe a tough time. I just like to sit there with them and listen without any judgment. Mm-hmm. And I think a big thing for humans is to be heard. And so I try to create a safe space and just to allow them to be heard. Now, sometimes they call me Shami and they tell me that I'm preaching them too much, and that was probably a year ago. So I'm getting better at that too, but something to learn. I spend lots of times with my friends and family at. I do love to travel. I love to travel, go to the beach, go to the snow.
Yeah,
and so we spend a lot of time just hanging out.
the Shami guy, the new guy, is a long way from, the Cirque du Soleil guy that made Sophia laugh, back at the district when you did the pole thing, remember?
Yeah.
It's a big evolution from trying to make everybody laugh, be happy, to now you are really centered and you want to be happy because you're happy no other reason, right?
Yeah.
It's a big evolution. So, Jay, last question for you. Thanks for sharing about your personal life. I always say here to our guests, if I could talk to 18-year-old Jaime, I would save him so much pain and trouble because all the wisdom that we gain with the years, right? All the experiences, all the scars. And I could just, maybe his life could be so much better because and then I remember that 18-year-old probably wouldn't listen anyway, as you said, because youth is just wasted on the young. And so, but if you could talk to any 18-year-old today that found commonality with you that said, I grew up in Chino or Chino Hills, or, I, like Jay, find myself not attracted to how you regularly learn in the classroom. And I one day would like to start a new business like Jay and sell it to a big company, or that they just find again your path, something they would want to follow. What advice would you have for a young person who's just starting the career? They just graduated from Chino High School. What have you learned in life that you could pass on to say, hey, this was really fundamental for me to achieve the success that I've achieved today?
I'd say probably what my shirt is, escape the noise, right? And so I never realized my whole life that there's this voice in my head that was negative, right? Now that voice can be helpful sometimes to push you to do better, to push you to do the things you want. But that voice can also be really negative. And I would say that the way to find your purpose, your thoughts lie to you, right? Your emotions lie to you, but your energy doesn't. So learning to escape the noise, and that means to slow your mind down and be mindful of that voice in your head. And when you follow your energy, it's the thing that time slows down. It's the flow state. So I would rather than trying to focus on a job or focus on what you need, your brain is going to try to get you to go to Dutch Brothers and drink that sugar drink, or your brain is going to try to get you to have instant gratification. And so by being mindful, you could start to decide and listen to that voice. You could start to switch it usually that voice comes from your parents or someone else. And a lot of times their voice came from their parents. And I noticed that my dad was an amazing dad, but the voice in my head was my dad a lot about needing to do a little bit better. And so if you could imagine that when you have a thought, your thought causes you to go into stress. So if you allow your thoughts to put you into a stress mode, then you end up predicting danger in your life. So the thing I would say at 18 is learn how to be able to start being kind to yourself, to start listening to that voice and turning it from a negative voice to a positive voice. And that's what I would say is that changed my life when I learned that I didn't have to listen to the roommate in my head, the negative voice. And I learned how to love that voice because it's there for a good reason, but you don't want to let it control your life. And when you listen to that voice, it's going to put you down in the stress path or predicting danger. And life is so amazing when you walk down the street and you see the beauty. And so the more you're grateful and you learn to, when that voice is negative, you learn to be aware and be grateful for that negative voice. Then you can switch it to a positive voice. And when you switch it to a positive voice and you walk down the street, the trees will look different to you. Everything you see will look different to you when you're walking in gratitude. And so I'm saying as everything follows gratitude. So at 18, if you could learn how to be mindful, stop worrying about having to have the best job or make enough money. What you want to do is learn how to control your energy. What are the things that make your energy better? How do you have more gratitude? Who are the people that you're around that lower your energy? And who are the people that you're around that raise it? So I would really focus on putting yourself around people that are going to help your energy grow. Because when your energy grows, everything in your life gets better. And when your energy is negative, your brain's predicting negative. And to this day, as much as I know that, I still go through a week, right, of being negative sometimes. And it's okay, right? It's okay. So when I'm negative, I go to the park and I just sit with it. And I enjoy the trees, even though my thoughts are trying to point out the negative. I breathe in and I let my senses, my eyesight, my smell, my focus on the gratitude I have for being and looking at a park.
Yeah. Yeah, we all have those bad times. So I'm really grateful that you are you're already dedicating your talents, your skills, again, to develop new tools based on this AI technology that's going to help people. Really excited about that and can't wait to hear more about it. So we'll have to have you back at the podcast, at the new studio. And it was great to see you this weekend.
You too, bud. I love you.
Yeah, love you too, bud. Well, that's it for the last episode ever here at the old studios. Until next one, stay safe. Jay, thank you for staying over to do our bonus segment called Against the Wall. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
The series of rapid fire questions. Here we go. The first segment is called Your Favorites. I'm going to give you a category. You're going to give me your favorite thing in that category. Let's start with an easy one. Your favorite food.
Pizza.
Favorite beverage with dinner.
Electrolytes.
Favorite dessert after dinner.
Strawberry pie.
Favorite way to start your day.
Gratitude.
Favorite way to unwind after a long day.
Sitting on the couch with my wife.
Favorite way to recharge on the weekend.
Laying on the beach.
Favorite book or movie.
Power Now by Eckhart Tolle or Untethered Soul.
Favorite
Singer.
Which was the second one?
Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.
Your favorite holiday.
Christmas.
Your favorite car you've ever owned.
Tesla Model S.
I thought it was that Honda Green Accord
right.
that had the Lakers sticker on it. Favorite college sports team.
University of Washington.
Favorite professional sports team.
Lakers.
Favorite Vegas sports team.
Aces.
All right. 3-time champions, well.
Yep.
All right, very good. You did really good on the first segment called Favorites. The second one is called Tough Choices. Gets a little harder. I'm going to give you 2 choices. Hopefully you can pick one. Vacation or staycation?
Staycation.
Will you one day retire on a ranch or in the city?
Ranch.
If you could have a day all to yourself, would you rather spend it by the ocean or hiking in the mountains?
The ocean.
Would you rather mentor one student or inspire many?
Inspire many.
Would you rather have more time or more money?
More time.
If you were a superhero, would you rather have the ability to fly or breathe underwater?
Fly.
The ability to speak with animals or speak any foreign language?
Speak with animals.
Here's where it gets really tough. Truth or kindness?
Kindness.
Actions or words?
Actions.
Justice or grace?
Grace.
Well, you did a good job, bud. You made it through tough choices. The last segment is called Finish the Sentence. If Jay could visit any place in the world, it would be...
Hawaii.
The best part about living in Laguna is...
The view at the beach.
Your favorite thing about the company you are working on right now and the products you're working on right now is...
Helping people find joy.
If you weren't working on these projects now, what else would you be doing?
Walking on the beach.
If you could travel back in time to any time, you would travel to...
The Roman Empire.
And 3 words that describe you, Jay, are...
Loving, kind, pain in the ass.
I couldn't agree more. Jay, thanks for staying over and doing the bonus segment. Oh, one more question for you. Doing the WC podcast here today with us was...
Incredible. It was amazing.
Awesome.